Hello everyone, I'm Lucy Fanger, CEO of On Technology Partners, and I'm proud to be sponsoring our new program, Women Stars. In each episode, we will spotlight an amazing woman and the struggles and triumphs that she has faced. Then we will reflect and share her insights. Our goal is to engage, entertain, and explore the women stars in our world today. I hope you enjoy.
I want to thank you all for listening today. My name is Shanti Harkness, and I'm the Media Manager for On Technology Partners, a women-owned company addressing cybersecurity and risk. Today, we'll be talking with Monica Robbins. Monica Robbins is an Emmy Award-winning reporter, well known as one of Northeast Ohio's most reliable sources for health news. As senior health correspondent, she has earned the respect of the region's medical establishments, including the Academy of Medicine of Cleveland and Northern Ohio, for fair, accurate, and unbiased reporting. With more than 30 years of broadcast journalism experience, Monica is a 7-time Emmy Award recipient. She has also received numerous first-place Excellence in Journalism awards from the Ohio Press Club, Cleveland Press Club, and the Associated Press. She's also been inducted into the Ohio Broadcasters Hall of Fame. She is also a brain tumor survivor and shared her journey and surgery with viewers. Her honesty and open telling of her story earned her an honorable mention for the National Gracie Awards for Women in Television. She's also a sought-after speaker and often talks about the need to be one's own health advocate. Monica, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Shanti.
So before we begin, tell us something that others may not know about you or something exciting about yourself.
One of the biggest things a lot of people don't realize is I'm a wannabe weekend rock star, and I front 2 bands. I front the classic rock band Monica Robbins and the Whiskey Kings, and the current country band Monica Robbins and the Ninja Cowboys. And I also ride a motorcycle, a Harley Davidson.
Nice. It's interesting. Rock and what was the name of your other one?
Rock and country. Current country.
Nice. And rides a Harley.
Yeah, I don't get the part when you see that on TV. Most people don't, they wouldn't put 2 and 2 together.
Right. All right. So we all know that triumphs don't come without struggles. What have been some of your biggest struggles? And this can be either professionally or personally. And tell us a little bit about how you were able to get through them and what type of an impact they had on your life or career.
Well, the game-changing point in my life was July 2nd, 2019. I was diagnosed with a sphenoid wing orbital meningioma, otherwise known as easily as a brain tumor. I had to face brain surgery, and I had to put aside my work 4 months to recover. And when I awoke from surgery, my vision was severely disturbed, and I was fearful it wouldn't come back, but it did improve. It took about 2 months, and I got back to the point where I was allowed to drive and then get back to my life. So also, I think, being the health reporter, it just made sense for me to tell my own story, because I had told so many other stories of other people dealing with the same thing. And my career maybe was a blessing and a curse, because I knew exactly what I was dealing with and what the complexities would be, and, what I might face after surgery. So I knew definitely on July 2nd, 2019, it was going to be life before and life after. So that's probably my biggest triumph with struggle.
Did you have any tips or tricks that you used during that time to get through that?
Yeah, every morning, I remember on those bad days when I just didn't want to get out of bed. I am so fortunate that I have interviewed so many people. I've been the medical reporter in Cleveland. I've been the medical reporter in Cleveland for going on 23 years. And one of the things I have to say is that I've met so many people who had far more difficult struggles than I was dealing with. And I remember them telling me attitude is just as important as medicine. And that became very clear to me when I was going through my own situation. So every morning I would wake up and I would remind myself that someone somewhere else has something way worse than what I'm going through. And they're still getting out of bed and being productive. So I have no excuse. And I'm not going to lie to you, I had my down moments, but I also knew I had more to contribute. So I just followed doctor's orders and I did what I had to do to get back where I wanted to be. And that was my priority. That was my focus. The old saying, ain't nobody got time for this. I, that was very, very true for me. I did not have time to deal with this. And I was angry and for half a second, I will freely admit the day I was diagnosed, I think I broke down for maybe a total of 30 seconds. And I'm pretty sure I heard my dad's voice say, that's enough, get up and get on with it. And from that point forward, I looked at it as I was a warrior and I was training for an MMA fight and I knew I was going to get my butt kicked, but it was the only thing I could do. It was the only thing I had control over.
Wow. I love how you mentioned the importance of attitude and our perception of what we're going through. And like you said, somewhere somebody is going through something so much worse than what we are right now. And using that to empower yourself to continue fighting. And like you mentioned, recognizing that you have more to offer and you're not going to give up.
If I can add to that, the other thing too is I forced myself to be present because, you just can't fix yesterday. You don't know what's coming tomorrow. And honestly, the best place I could be was just to focus on the next 5 minutes because again, that's what you have control over. So I forced myself to kind of make a list. There are things you can control and there are things you can't control. And those that I had no power over, I left to the universe. It was out of my hands. I had enough on my plate. I didn't want to deal with the things that I could not fix or change. And I also stopped beating myself up for the down points. It's okay to get depressed. I allowed myself to have those moments. But then I realized that dark hole you find yourself in, it's really dark, damp, wet, and it doesn't have cable. So, put your shoes on and spike heels if you choose and get your butt out of it. And because all of us prefer that metaphorical sunlight. And that's how I decided I was going to live my life. And I did that because I learned from so many other people who taught me those lessons through their stories that they shared with me.
I love it. And I love how you mentioned finding that power of being in the present moment, which I think is so important for everyone to hear, because I think in general we spend so much time reminiscing or thinking about the past, which we can't change. And we spend a lot of time worrying about the future, which isn't even here yet. So really the only thing we have is the present moment and what we choose to do in that moment and how we choose to live and to really be present with ourselves. And there's so much more power and joy in living in the moment like that.
Worry is such a useless emotion.
Yes.
It really is. Nobody has time to worry. We all have time to start thinking of a plan and planning ahead, because worrying just eats at you and it's not healthy. Mm-hmm. So I stopped doing that and I just took control of the things I had to. One of the first things they told me when I was diagnosed was to get my affairs in order. And that made very clear the gravity of my situation. And I thought initially when they told me that, I thought, oh my goodness, that it hits you like a ton of bricks, right? And then I thought, well, what's wrong with me? Everybody should have this taken care of. Why don't I? So I looked at it from a different perspective, that this wasn't we're all born and we all die. And what we do in between is what matters. And I thought, you know what? I have control over planning for what happens to me afterward. So I'm going to take charge of that. And that's what I flipped it, I guess. And I looked at it as it wasn't a bad thing. It was something that we all need to do. We all need to take control over that, because you would much rather have control over that than allow someone else to take over for you.
I think it's a matter of taking responsibility for our lives and just really taking charge, like you said, and instead of just leaving it up to somebody else to worry about, just really, really taking charge and being responsible for your own life and your own circumstances and situations. So, Monica, let's take a moment and focus now on your biggest triumph. Can you share what that was and what made it so great for you?
You know, my biggest triumph had to be not only surviving, but coming back to work only to face a pandemic. You know, this is as and you know, I mentioned the universe, and I really think the universe has a very sick sense of humor, because I'm pretty sure, you know, I don't know if that's why I survived, you know, and come on, I'm being very sarcastic there, but you know, I kept thinking I have more to contribute. And then, of course, I come back and I was at work for literally a couple of weeks, and all of a sudden the pandemic breaks. And I had to cover one of the biggest stories of my career. And not only cover it, this was such a story that was so confusing and so overwhelming, because information was just flying in at me and then changing constantly. So I'm still working at it. I'm not perfect by any means, but I really do think coming back and getting right back into work was a triumph. But at the same time, I also started making old mistakes, because one of the things I was determined to do was stay present. And what I made the mistake doing was I came back and I got right back into my old habits, because I started, you know, working 16, 18-hour days and not taking care of myself again. And because I felt like I had to. And that's, as women, we do that a lot. We decide that, you know, we're in charge. We have to take care of everybody and everything. And, you know, and we always put ourselves second. And I had to learn to knock that off. And I'm still learning how to knock that off. But I hope people remember, be conscious of it, because it caused a whole heck of a lot of problems for me health-wise. Mm-hmm. And, you know, goes back to that old saying, if I can't take care of myself, who am I going to be good for?
And I know I can definitely relate to that mentality of wanting to do everything for everybody and taking on way more than I should and not taking care of myself in the process. And like you said, it's something that you continuously are learning how to do and practicing. And it's not easy, you know, to change that mindset, because you see something that needs done, or you see someone that needs help, and our instincts as women, I feel, are to help others and to make sure that everything is taken care of and is in order, and, you know, that everything is, you know, perfect and taken care of. But that's not always what's most important. And when we do take that time to care for ourselves, we're in a much better position to take care of others. And oftentimes I know for me, when I take care of myself, I have more energy and more drive and enthusiasm to take on more and to help more people and to do more things. Whereas if I'm not taking care of myself, then I feel like a drained battery.
That's such an important point. And I learned in my experience that self-care is not about a spa day. Self-care is about survival. Mm-hmm. And it's not, no one should feel guilty for taking that mental health day or just taking that time for themselves, because we need it. You know, the way life is right now, especially now that we're a year into a pandemic, all of us are just overwhelmed. I can't imagine the moms who are still dealing with kids at home, going to school, and then still they're managing a career. I admire them, and I have no idea how they do it, because to me, that is probably one of the hardest things anybody could do. And, I've been working from home now since March 23rd. So I'm coming up on a year of working from home. And that unplug moment, that unplugged time, and that time for yourself, I've learned is so incredibly critical. And don't get me wrong, I am not perfect. And there are still days where I'm still on my computer at 10 or 11 o'clock at night. But the difference now is I'm recognizing it, and I'm recognizing that, Monica, you need to slow your roll and get back to where you were. And it's okay to take a break. All of us want to be super women.
Yes.
And the problem with that is, what we don't realize is we already are super women. But even Superwoman takes a day off once in a while. And, I think we're so consumed with trying to be the best and trying to do everything that everyone expects of us to perfection. If you take a look around the world, nothing is perfect. The world is not perfect, and neither are we. And embrace that. It's okay. We don't have to be perfect. And we can give ourselves the ability to accept that, and then, call out the people who think that they are. No one is perfect. Everyone has their own flaws. Everyone has their own, things that they're keeping off of social media, and that's the other problem. We're so inundated with everybody posting the perfect pictures of themselves. We think everybody's life is better than ours. It's not, everybody. It's not.
It's not.
Everybody has their own road to follow. And that's something else I learned. I'm in a career where I have been trained to never let anybody see me sweat. And it's been drilled into me that, you smile, or I refer to it as, I have a bunch of rubber ducks on my desk. And they came from interns, because one of my biggest pieces of advice, and I got this advice my very first day in TV, was you have to be a duck and let it all roll off your back. Mm-hmm. And nobody can tell how fast you're paddling underneath that water.
Ooh.
And so that's how, I've been trained that I need to keep it together at all times. But you know what? It's okay to understand that, you're going to have bad days. Don't beat yourself up over it. And the other thing is, if somebody snaps at you, or there's somebody, we're all so judgmental. I wish people would stop being so judgmental, because the one thing I learned is you have no idea what journey somebody is on, mm-hmm. and how worse it could be compared to yours. So none of us have time to pick on other people, or, shred others for maybe they gained weight, or they lost weight, or they didn't do their hair right, or whatever. We're women. We need to lift each other up. We need to support each other constantly. And we need to tell each other, you know what? You are a superwoman, because we are doing far more things than anyone could possibly expect of us. That's superwomen. And I don't care who you are or what you do. All of us are superwomen. But like I said, Superwoman can take a day off, or take 5 minutes off of her computer to take a few deep breaths and get her mind right. It's okay.
I love it. Excellent, excellent words of advice there. So we've talked a little bit about this already. As women, we juggle so many different things. There's career, family, household responsibilities. Sometimes there's illnesses or caregiving. How do you maintain a work-life balance, and what do you think that employers could do to be more supportive of that?
I'm still working on that work-life balance thing. And I realized, prior to my diagnosis, it was something that I did not do well at all. And I can still say I do not do it well at all. I am incredibly lucky that my employer was so supportive of me. What I can tell you though is everybody forgets. Employers forget what some of the things that people have dealt with and what they're going through, and they keep loading more and more on their plate. But you know what? It's up to us to say, hey, wait a minute. I'm still dealing with this other thing. Can you at least give me a time extension or give me a break? Or I understand, I'm not saying no, that I can't do this, but I am saying you have to take into consideration all the other things you're asking of. And that, I think, is the problem. It's so easy to blame. It's so easy to say, oh, my boss doesn't understand me, or my boss just keeps dumping work on me. And I learned to say, you know what, hey boss, this is great, happy to do it, but I'm not Superwoman. You can use that phrase when you need it. And so that's one of the things I really tried to do, is instead of constantly trying to do everything at once, because when you do that, you're not giving 100%.
Mm-hmm.
You're not giving everything you can, and you're not doing the greatest job you possibly could. So if you just let them in and let them understand that it's not that I'm saying no, it's just that I'm saying, please consider this or ask for help. That was the hardest thing for me to do. I am not one to ask for help. I am not one to show weakness. And I had to learn to knock that off and ask for help when I need it. When the pandemic broke, I was supposed to ease back into work and take it easy and be a special projects reporter and, maybe turn 2 or 3 stories a week. And then the pandemic happened and I went right back to working 16, 18-hour days. I was so incredibly busy in the beginning. I wasn't eating, I wasn't resting, I wasn't taking care of myself because, again, I was overwhelmed. And when I get overwhelmed, it's easy for me to lose sight of what's important because I'm so consumed with doing my job. And it got to the point, my husband, he does all the cooking. I'm such a lucky girl. And, when I was at work and in the building, it was not unusual for him to call me at, 10 to 5 and say, hi, I want to let you know what's on the menu this evening.
Aww.
And, but it sounds sweet, but in essence, what he was saying was get your butt home after work so you can have dinner at a reasonable time and I don't have to stick it in the microwave. And then sadly, here I am at home 20 steps away from the kitchen, and he still could not get me out of my office to come downstairs at a reasonable hour. And I kept saying, yeah, I'm on my way. And then I'd answer 27 more emails. And finally, I had to stop. And it took him and it took, my best friend to say, what are you doing? And I was really lucky. And as soon as somebody pointed it out to me, then I was well aware, oh, this is not good. Mm-hmm. So you have to take stock and you have to realize, again, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. So now when my work is done, we have to use a VPN. I get off the VPN, I shut down my computer so it takes longer for it to power up and makes me think twice. And the most difficult thing, I shut off my phone. Mm-hmm. And I don't do it every day, but when I know I need it, I shut off my phone. And I just tell everybody, you know what, I got to get back into balance. And I'm not ashamed that I have even put on, I'm required to be on social media. I have put on my social media, hey folks, I'm getting off the grid for 5 days. See you when I get back. It's okay. Mm-hmm. It's okay to admit that, because you know what, if we're all going to be at the level we dream we're going to be, you have to take into account, you got to take care of yourself. And again, I wish every employer would recognize that their employees need that. But I also think it's on the employee to make sure that their employer is aware of what they're dealing with. And And, again, I'm one of those people that, oh, I'll do whatever you ask. And I'll stay up until midnight, 2, 3 in the morning to get it done. That's not helping anybody because you're not doing the best possible job you can. So take pride in your work, I guess. And part of that pride is give yourself a break every once in a while.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. There was so much valuable information in your response. And I especially you mentioned, being your own advocate and speaking up and saying when you need an extension or you need help with something in order to accomplish something. And like you said, I think that's something that's really hard for us to get in the habit of doing because we do feel like we have to do everything on our own by ourselves and try to be superwoman when in fact it's okay to ask for help. And oftentimes it's even better when you do, because then you're able to be more focused and present with what you're working on. And so the quality of your work is better, or the quality of your interaction is better. So just really a great reminder for our listeners to be your own best advocate. And if you need help, speak up because you deserve it. Essentially, we really do.
Something else I think that is really important is we all need to recognize limitations. I think that's incredibly important. So there are days you can be superwoman, but you really need to take a look at what's the cost. When you're given an assignment, take a hard look at it and put together a reasonable, reachable goal. And that's what you stick to. Now, I will freely admit I am guilty of making lists that are a mile long, and I'm learning to make things. And then what happens is I make these like ridiculously long to-do lists, and then I get nothing done.
Yes.
Because I start procrastinating because my list is overwhelming me, and I just did it to myself.
Absolutely.
So one of the things I'm looking to do, and again, I am a work in progress, believe me. But one of the things I'm still learning to do is I make a list of just 3 things that I have to get done that day. So prioritizing work and life is just critical. And again, I'm very guilty of becoming overwhelmed that I put it on myself. So something else someone once taught me, set an alarm on your phone, because I know every one of us, that's what we have. Set an alarm on your phone to remind you to stop. You don't have to stop for 20 minutes. You don't have to stop for an hour. Just 3 to 5 minutes. Just get your face away from your computer and take some deep breaths. And, I wear a Fitbit, and my Fitbit buzzes when I don't get my 250 steps every hour, which is so pathetic because I have a standing desk. So I'm standing on my feet, not getting 250 steps in. But my Fitbit is my reminder that, hey, Monica, it goes off at 10 till all the time if I know I haven't gotten away from my computer, and it reminds me to take a break. And, that break can be 2 minutes, doesn't matter. At least it's something. And
Absolutely.
You just need that pause because it gives your brain a second to recharge. And you know what? Something else might pop in your brain during that time that may make whatever the heck you were working on go a lot faster.
I can attest to the power of setting the alarms on the phone. I actually set an alarm every hour on my phone to drink more water because I get in the habit, I'll be so focused on the work that I'm doing that 4, 5, 6 hours will go by and I haven't had a single drop of water. And so I'm terribly dehydrated. And then that causes headaches and your brain starts to get foggy. And so I set an alarm, like you said, on my phone every hour to drink water. And so that gives me, a minute or two when I can turn my eyes away from my computer screen and, just focus on something, take a couple of deep breaths, like you said. So that's definitely a great little piece of advice there to set alarms on your phones for things like that. So Monica, tell us how you would define success for yourself. And do you have any tips or habits that you use to help you be successful or to feel successful?
Success for me is kind of simple because I work in a business where there's a daily deadline. So success for me is that I made my time slot and, I didn't fall all over myself on TV. But you know what? I think success is just, I set a bar for myself, and sometimes my bar is kind of lofty. But for me, it's like, did I do the best job I could that day? And if you know when you phone it in, and you know when you actually put the work in. And so for me, as long as I can say, you know what, no, I didn't phone it in. I may not have had the best day. I may not have done it perfectly, but I didn't phone it in. I didn't get lazy, and I did everything to the best of my ability that day. And that's the other thing we have to take into consideration. Every day is different. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have days that, the cable goes out and the cable guy has to come and you've got a huge project due. And then your internet crashes and, you're going through a zillion things and you're still expected to have that perfect day. You know what? You do the best you possibly can and stop beating yourself up over not reaching one thing. That to me is success. When you can look back at your day and it's like, you know what? I didn't get to that. Get to it tomorrow. Those of us who are lucky to have tomorrow can get to it tomorrow.
I love that definition of success. Now let's take a moment and have you reflect on something that you wish you would have known sooner in life and share that with us.
Oh my goodness. I could write a book on the things I wish I would have known. But one of the things I can honestly say is stress. I wish I would have known how to handle stress much better before I got into the business I chose, and also to recognize the damage that stress can do. That's how I don't think most of us realize that it's really detrimental and it's really dangerous. And when you're living in that fight or flight mode 24/7, it's killing you. So if, and I'll be honest, I still don't know. I'm still working on it. I'm learning. Some days I do much better than others, but stress it's a killer. It really is. And a lot of us don't handle it the best way we possibly can. So if there's anything I could tell people is figure that one out. Figure out the best way you can handle your stress, manage your stress, and unplugging at night when it's time to shut down is the first step you can take.
Stress is in many instances the number one killer, I believe, and is a contributing factor in so many illnesses and diseases. And so anything that a person can do to help better manage their stress levels, you're going to experience so much relief and just feel so much better overall. I know for myself, one of the things that I enjoy doing that also helps with stress relief is meditation. Has been so unbelievably helpful for me. Meditation, I volunteer. That's another, wonderful way to give back and to help somebody else without expecting anything in return. And, brings you great joy, and that helps to decrease stress. So really anything that we can do that brings us joy and helps us to relax or unwind or de-stress is going to be so beneficial for our overall health and well-being, not to mention our mental health as well. All very, very important.
I'm really glad you brought up meditation because I've always been one of those people that I can't sit still. And so I used to meditate when I was running. I'd go over the mantras in my mind. And when I was diagnosed and I realized things were getting a little hairy, I threw the dog in the truck and I drove to the Metro Park and I took a walk. And for me, getting back to nature, getting back to that, silent world of not so silent with wildlife, but just for me, getting back to nature, even if it was for 30 minutes, just to, walk through the woods was exactly what I needed. It reset me, it recharged me, and I forced myself not to think of anything. All I thought of was looking at my dog and wonder what he's smelling, and looking around, and that lesson of being present just for that 30 minutes, it did a world of good for me.
And I like how you mentioned, you had tried meditating and not being able to quiet your mind. It's important, I think, for a lot of people to understand, if you try meditation once and you can't do it, don't give up. I was the same way. I have a very restless mind, million thoughts in my head all at the same time. And I had tried meditating numerous times before. It wasn't until I actually learned meditation from a meditation master from a lineage in India that I was actually able to meditate and stop my mind completely and have absolutely no thoughts whatsoever. And it was just this amazing experience of bliss and joy and happiness at just having no thoughts in my head at all. It was amazing. So if somebody, if any of our listeners, if you've tried meditating before and you just haven't been able to slow your mind down, don't give up. Keep trying and you will get the benefits from it.
That's so true. I often say my brain is full and when I can't think anymore.
And it's so important to have that downtime mentally and to just kind of shut everything down because, we're a very go society. And we feel like we have to just keep doing something, anything all the time and never allow ourselves to really shut down and turn off. And it's so important. And the benefits are absolutely amazing.
I agree with you. And binge watching television is not on that list. I'm assuming. So yeah. That's my big vice right now. I think I've binge watched everything on Prime and Netflix at this point. Don't do that. Bad. Don't.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have by this point in time in the pandemic.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, Monica, what advice would you give to young women that are just beginning their careers?
Be indispensable. And to do that, you need to learn as much as you possibly can and understand the job requirements and the stresses of those you work with. Now, I started my career in television behind the scenes. I was a videographer, I was an editor, and I worked in production. And that really, really helped me as I move forward because I understand how difficult those jobs are for the people who I'm teamed up with. And as a reporter, I know what I can do to make their lives easier and be more efficient for both of us. So that's just one thing. Become indispensable, learn everything you possibly can so you become invaluable. And also treat others the way you want to be treated. And don't ever consider yourself above anyone else. My dad used to tell me all the time, I don't care if you're interviewing the president or the homeless guy on the corner. You treat them both the exact same way. And I have gone through my career doing that. And believe me when I tell you, it is such a valuable tool. And you might think you do it, but think a little harder because most of us don't. And also remember, everybody has a story. Everyone you cross paths with has a story, from the janitor to the CEO. Take time to learn and listen. The good Lord gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a very good reason. And that's to use 2 more than 1, if you know what I mean. And the other thing I would tell young women going into their career is remember, every single one of us is replaceable. It's a tough lesson to learn, but when you go into a position realizing that, don't ever think you're the be all end all. Every single one of us is replaceable. Be a team player because you never, ever know who you might need down the road. Always work together with people. Always try to do your best to get along with everyone. In my business, you never know when you might need to work at another station, or you might somebody you may have offended in the past works at a place that you want to go work. And it's very, very clear. And I've seen it happen zillions of times where people forget their manners, forget who they are, or think there's something better than they truly are. And they don't get a job because they have a reputation. And remember, don't post stupid pictures on social media. I'm very lucky that wasn't around when I was starting out. But use common sense. Do anything in the digital age stays permanently. Remember that. Don't be stupid, and don't post things that you don't want someone to see 10, 20 years from now because you're trying to get a job. Or as reporters, I was an investigator. Trust me when I tell you, I will find it. So, and if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Excellent, excellent words of advice. So Monica, if somebody wanted to get in contact with you, how would they get in touch with you?
They can email me at Monica Robbins, Robins, all one word, at WKYC.com.
Monica, thank you so much. It has been an absolute privilege speaking with you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Shanti.
On Technology Partners wants to thank you for joining us on this episode of Women Stars. If you would like to appear on a future podcast episode, or if you'd like to nominate a businesswoman to be interviewed for Women Stars, please email stars@ontechpartners.com. My name is Shanti Harkness. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you for joining us on today's journey. Remember, you are all women stars. If you wish to learn more about our Women Stars program or want to be a guest on our show, contact us at stars@ontechpartners.com. And thank you to On Technology Partners for helping me make this program a reality. Remember, we at On Technology Partners want to help you protect your team from hackers. To learn more about our cybersecurity services, go to ontechnologypartners.com.